in today's video, I'm going to give you 10 tips that you can use to start writing better Facebook ads so you can get better results with your ad campaigns. I'm going to show you some specific examples that you can use. And then at the end of this, I'm going to give you one of the biggest lessons that I've ever learned comes to writing effective ad copy that converts. Really quick, if you don't know me already, my name is Bryce and I am a media buyer. So I got started in this whole digital marketing world back in 2013. And then in 2015, I started my own digital ad agency where we work with online businesses and help them run more profitable ad campaigns. So if you want to learn how to grow your online business with better marketing, you can hit that like button below, subscribe to this channel. I've got more content like this. I've also got a bunch more content over at my website at majorimpactmedia.com. You can click on that somewhere below this video and go check out all the good free stuff we've got for you there. With that being said, let's dive into the content. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the building blocks for a good ad. Every good ad has a few elements that are super important, especially if you're selling like online courses, high ticket programs. The strategies that you're going to use are going to be very different than someone selling like e-commerce, Amazon shops, big brands, stuff like that. First, most important thing you can do, and the thing that we spend probably the most time focusing on when we're trying to come up with good ads, is good hooks and good angles. Again, good hooks and good angles. Pretty much the name of the game with social advertising is figuring out how you can get a good hook or a good angle out there to get somebody to pay attention to your ad and then actually read the rest of it and take action and click on it. I think the next thing you gotta do is really have some kind of problem or pain point that you address. So if someone is reading your ad, they need to understand what it is that you're helping them do and kind of address the emotional issue of like the problem that they're experiencing.
Why is your problem?
So that they can move forward and basically click on your ad to find a solution, right? The next thing is uniqueness. Your ad has to have something different about it. If your ad is the exact same thing that everybody else is running, there's really no good reason to move forward and click on your ad. A good hook, addressing some kind of pain point or problem, some uniqueness, show some benefits, show them what they potentially get after clicking and taking the next step. It doesn't have to be explicit. You can use some kind of curiosity or something like that, but show them what they're going to get out of taking the next action. If you can get some kind of social proof or validation in there, that's fantastic. And then the last thing to do is like a call to action. Tell them exactly what to do next. Do they need to click on a button? Do they need to watch a video? What is that next step? Be super clear about that.
Do I turn towards the kebab center or the city grill?
Yes.
Really, that's just super important. Our ads convert better when we tell people exactly what to do next. So once you've got the building blocks, the second most important thing you can do is really understand your avatar and where they're at. One really famous saying is like, you want to enter the conversation that your customer is already having in their mind. You're not trying to inject them with new ideas. You're trying to basically jump into where they're already at. This can seem really obvious, but I've worked with a lot of copywriters who start by going really, really broad instead of getting super clear on who they're speaking to.
You talking to me?
You see a ton of ads online, right? The thing is, most of these don't convert very well because you can get all of the elements on the page right. You can have all the right words. You can have all the right power words or whatever they call them. But if you're not speaking to the right person at the right time, your ads just are not going to convert.
Wait a minute. Who are you?
Who is the person that you're writing to? What are they struggling with? Where are they at in their journey to trying to solve the problem that you're going to help them solve? The more that you can figure out about your avatar, the better your ads are going to convert. It's not the most exciting stuff, but the more work you can do on this and the better you understand your customer, the better your ads are going to convert. So the third thing is really understanding where your customer is at in the sales cycle too. So if you're running successful ad campaigns, you don't just have one ad, right? You've got multiple ads. You've got ads at the top of the funnel, bringing people in. You've got ads at the bottom of the funnel, retargeting people. You've got ads in the middle of the funnel, nurturing people and taking people to the next step. You don't want to pitch your product on the first date, right? You probably hear this all the time.
Those are good. Oh.
If we're running an ad to cold traffic, we're not going to start telling them about the product that we have for sale at the end of the funnel, because the next step that we need to do is get them to engage on some of our content or download our free thing or watch our videos, probably the most common one, right? And so really understanding where they're at the sales cycle and speaking to them about taking that next step is super important. Don't try to sell the entire thing in one, don't try to get your ad to sell the entire product in one step. Take it step by step with your customer. So the fourth tip I have, really focus on selling what's interesting and not what's boring. Again, working with a lot of copywriters, we get stuff back where people are talking about like, oh,
if you'll download my free PDF, if you'll take my free course, if you'll watch my free video.
I don't think anyone really cares about another PDF or another course or another video. If you're in the online space, you have a bajillion of these things just laying around and you don't really need any more of them. Focus on what's inside of that thing, right? So what framework, what strategy, what methodology, what tool is really going to help them get from where they're at now to where they want to be? And focus on that. Whatever you're giving them, whether it's a PDF or a course or a video or a series or whatever that is really just like a vehicle to help them get what they want.
I'm happy to entertain you.
And really what's unique about what you're doing is your framework, your methodology, your unique mechanism, whatever that is, right? That's really what we want to focus on at every step of our ads. You can tell people that they have a video coming up, but that's not the focus of your ads. So definitely focus on like what's the most interesting, unique thing about your ad. Let them know what the vehicle of delivery is, but that's not something to focus on. Okay, so the fifth tip that I can give you is really understanding how the ads render. So if you look at an ad on the ad platform, really the biggest thing that shows up is the ad creative. Even just looking at this, what I've got on the screen, right? So the biggest thing that shows up is this ad creative, right? The imagery is what takes up the most space. But then what you'll see here is like up at the very top, it shows where this ad is coming from. So that can be like where you're writing from, whether this is a brand or an individual, I also think is important, especially on a social platform. But then there's only 3 lines of text that show up before someone has to click on it and take action and click this see more button to actually read the whole ad. And the headline was actually what comes down at the bottom. So really traditionally what people would think about as like a headline on a landing page and what Facebook calls your headline is really down at the bottom. And then there's a CTA button that actually has like some kind of text in it that someone has to click on, right? And so I think this is super important to understand because those first 3 sentences, like that's got to be the hook that really speaks to somebody with where they're at and gets them interested in clicking that see more button. And then that imagery takes up the most space. So like this is where you can really make the biggest adjustments with your click-through rate and also like just getting people to make sure like that's a congruent thing. So where we actually probably spend the most time on our ads is really dialing in like this imagery and these 3 sentences. Even if you come over here and look at Instagram, right? On Instagram, the creative takes up the most space and it's at the very top. And then down here at the bottom, you only have like 2 sentences before someone has to click that see more. And there's not even the headline on here. So like this is super important to understand if you are writing ads because that first sentence is got to be something that you absolutely nail. And then this graphic is what like this creative is what you can really use to like adjust your improve your click-through rate and get better results. I think a lot of people don't understand how this works because they really write like super boring first sentences. And they kind of expect that someone's going to read a few sentences of their ad before they really drive them in. And that's just not the case, right? So you really want to focus on nailing those first couple of sentences. And if you understand how these ads render on these platforms, I think that will make it really valuable for you in the long run. So the next tip that I can give you is be really careful with your claims, especially if you're selling online courses, high ticket programs. You're probably trying to show people the benefits of what they can get by taking action, right? So whether that's make more money, lose weight, have a better lifestyle, all of that stuff. But you have to be careful with the claims that you make. If you're going to be running ads on Facebook, it's definitely worth taking the 10 minutes to actually read through the advertiser policies that they lay out. Because the most common things that people get ad disapprovals for is unacceptable business practices and multi-level marketing. If you understand how to avoid like the keywords that trigger these ads that get them disapproved, then you will avoid a lot of problems in your ad account. And you'll definitely, like you can avoid getting your ad account shut down, which is another huge problem. Know that like if your ads get shut down, the first time it ever happens, it's always just an algorithm, right? So if you have certain keywords in your ads will get flagged and they will get disapproved. And then do an appeal, like review your ads. If you don't think that you violated any policies, do an appeal. Oftentimes we see that we get approved once we do the appeal. If you continue to get your ads disapproved, then you can make some edits to the copy, tone down the claims, find some more creative ways to say stuff. You can't say you're going to make $50,000 doing this. You can find some creative ways to tell people that they're going to be successful and make a lot of money without actually just saying, make $50,000 this month, right? We often talk about the success stories of our students. We often talk about making incredible things happen with your business and generating a flood of leads or whatever that is. We find like creative ways to basically say things without putting in the numbers that are going to end up getting our ads flagged. Also, another thing too is like if you get a bunch of disapprovals in your ad account, it's worthwhile to go through the ad account, make sure you appeal them, and then even adjust those ads to get them approved. Even if you just like totally water down the copy, basically put like nothing in it, and then get it, hit the appeal button, get it approved, and then don't run it. That's better than having like a red check mark in your account with disapproved ads. Facebook does look at how many disapproved ads that you have in your ad account to determine your ad account quality. And so you want to have that up as high as possible. And one of the best ways to do that is just make sure that any ads that you get disapproved, make sure you go through and actually appeal them until they get approved. Even if like you can't get that copy approved, just totally water down the copy, put down some super soft stuff, get it approved, and then don't run it. And that way you don't have a bunch of disapproved ads in your ad account. So there's a how to keep your ad account quality high tip for you. So the next thing that I would say is a good tip is embrace the white space on your ads. The ad on the left is way easier to read than the ad on the right. So we will often have like one short punchy sentence, maybe two tops per line, and then you can space through, and then it makes it really easy for people to scan and read if you look at the ad on the left. The ad on the right is actually a screenshot that we took from a sponsored post online, and you can see here like they just put everything into one giant sentence. It looks like it was an error or something, right? But you see ads like this where people write these big paragraphs, and especially if you're writing ad copy, email copy, whatever it is, like give people short, punchy sentences. The same thing you would do like if you were writing a blog post, right? Make it really easy for people to skim and read, because that's how most people are going to consume content online. Especially if it's an ad, like they're going to skim through it really fast, see if it's valuable for them, and then they might go back a second time before they take any action.
I'll be back.
So really embrace the white space, short, punchy sentences that make it easy for people to scan and easy for people to consume what's going on. My next tip for you, number 9 here, is like congruency is key. So it is absolutely critical that your ads are congruent to the landing page or the salespeople page that you're driving traffic to. You don't want to come up with it's super crazy, super witty, super curiosity-based ad that gets people to click on your ad and then send them to the next page and have absolutely nothing on the same page that you was mentioned in the ad. Because then people are going to lose kind of that scent of like what they were looking for in the beginning. You'll have a high click-through rate and a really low conversion rate. So oftentimes when we're running ads, especially for clients, we go to the landing page and just pull all of the best stuff that we can find, the best ideas, and then move that up into the ad, add some curiosity, add a really good hook. And now we've got like a really good congruent ad that's going to help move people from the ad platform, off the ad platform, and into our funnel. So again, make sure that whatever expectation that you're setting in the ad is there on the next page after they click. And the last tip I've got for you, number 10 here, and this is probably one of the biggest lessons that I've ever learned when it comes to writing good ad copy, is your ad should not only get people interested, but it should pre-frame, pre-qualify, and pre-sell your person into taking the next step. Really, your ads are oftentimes the most important first step that someone's going to take in order to like learn about you, engage with you, and move through your funnel. What you want this thing to do is not only to get somebody interested, but you really want it to speak to the right person. So actually the old copywriter, Dan Kennedy, he had a really good saying. He called it the dog whistle headline. And the example was like a dog whistle, nobody can hear it except for a dog, right? And that's how you want your copy to be once you're running ads. The only person that should really be paying attention, that should really speak to, is your ideal customer. So again, kind of going back to that thing we talked about earlier, the more you understand your customer, the more you understand where they're at and how you can help them, the more you can kind of write these like dog whistle ads where it really speaks to the person that you want to speak to, and everybody else just kind of ignores it. And that's totally okay. But you want to speak to the right person and sell them on the bigger idea or the big promise that you have that comes later down the line. And everything should kind of be helping them put them into the mindset of moving through the next step. If you've ever read a sales page, it oftentimes does a great job of explaining to people what is the big benefit they can get from buying something and addresses objections along the way. A really good ad campaign can do the exact same thing. One way that we have found that to really helps with this is to write longer form ads. So again, especially if you are selling online courses, high ticket programs, something like this, a lot of people will try to copy kind of the big brands or the e-commerce style ads where they're one or two sentences, they get people interested and they move people to the next step. But really what we have found works best is like longer form copy that tells a story, gets people interested, pre-frames them into the right mindset, and make sure we're qualifying the people before they click and then moving them to the next step. And so you can kind of see this example here on my screen, right? Like this ad copy on the left, we always find outperforms short ad copy like the one on the right. And the one on the right might actually get more clicks. So you might get a higher click-through rate, your cost per click might be lower, but we often find that the conversion rate is significantly lower on something like the left because you're just kind of baiting someone with some general curiosity, and pretty much anybody could go for that. When we go for stuff on the left, what we oftentimes find is we get way more qualified leads into our funnel, which end up converting better for us in the long run and making us more money.
They bought
Oftentimes we find that like 200 or 300 words is like a good baseline starting point, but you can go longer if you can keep somebody's attention. And we definitely test shorter copy too. Oftentimes what we'll do is we'll write like one really long form copy, and then we'll challenge ourselves to just cut that in half. And then we'll test, the long form and the short form together. So those are my 10 tips in order to start writing better Facebook ads. So if you've never written Facebook ads or you've been working on getting your Facebook ad campaigns to be more profitable, definitely try some of these out in your next ad campaign. See if you can write some better ad copy that's going to beat what you're running now. And the best way to do this is to just get into it and start writing it. Oftentimes we're starting with a new client. We'll write 3 or 4 different ads. We'll try to come up with the best hooks, the best angles that we can. We'll test them all out, and then we'll find out what works. Once we find our control and we see what's working best, we'll just keep trying to write new ads to see if we can beat that one while we keep that one running as long as we can. Personal experience is like we will write 4 or 5 ads. 1, maybe 2 might really work. When we find one that really, really works, we can often run it for months. We've even ran ads, the same ad copy for years before. I think the longest we ever ran one ad copy was over 2 years because it just kept working. We were changing out the ads, we were changing out the creatives, we were changing out the video. Sometimes we would change out that first sentence just to get the hook to be a little bit different. But the meat of the copy converted really well, and we were able to run that for a really long time. So don't be surprised in the beginning if you go through a lot of ads to find what really works. We do that every time when we get started running new campaigns for our clients, but definitely stick with it. Use these tips to write better ad copy. If you like that video, please hit the like button because that'll tell me that we're making good content. We'll keep making more of it. We've also got some other videos around here somewhere if you want to check out some more content like this. Other than that, I hope you have a great day and I'll catch you next time.